Agba Orun Wamopeo Begawa Odeni Okunlibo. Ancestors, you who have died and gone to heaven, we bow down to you. We bid you join us in this space and support us in this which we have come together to do today. Welcome. I bid you welcome. Same gender-loving women and men, queer and trans, sisters and brothers, and all of our allies, I bid you welcome. Welcome to this ceremony of celebration. On this night, in this sacred space, I have come to sing praises, to honor and to celebrate our gatekeeper elder icons of Harlem. Hear my voice.
Praise singer, we welcome you.
I am your praise singer. I am descended from a long, long line of praise singers. Going back to ancient times, we sing praises to our heroines and heroes, our queens and kings, our righteous ones.
We bow to your legacy among our people.
First, we praise our same gender-loving ancestors who in ancient times were honored as sages and shamans.
We praise those ancient times.
And through the ages, every season, we chose same gender-loving gatekeepers to honor and to celebrate.
We are honored to be celebrated.
It's an honor to be chosen.
Tonight, I ask you to listen, witness, remember, and celebrate our same gender-loving elders of Harlem. You are our community. Gatekeepers, let our ceremony of affirmation begin. Hear me, my people. When will you know that we are all one?
Tell us.
First, we praise all love. We praise gatekeeper women born to love women. We praise gatekeeper men born to love men. We praise gatekeeper women born to love men and women. We praise gatekeeper men born to love women and men. We praise all love. We praise the forgotten and lonely, and those who may have never found the mate they seek, and those who have suffered heartbreak with the mate that they may have chosen, and those who dream, and those who have given up on their dreams, and all in need of healing, and all who need justice. There is a same gender-loving elder gatekeeper who fights for justice. He lives among us here in Harlem. I say, come forth.
Gatekeeper, I am here.
Gatekeeper, have you dedicated yourself to our community?
I have sincerely strived to dedicate myself to our community.
Gatekeeper, some of us will know you, and some of us will not know you.
Honorable William Frank Perry. I began my judicial career in 2011. I was elected to the bench of New York County Supreme Court in the First Judicial District of New York in 2017. And praise singer, when I took oath in that moment, I just said, stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat hath not our weary feet come to this place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears hath been watered. We have come over the path through the blood of the slaughtered, out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright stars is cast. I am a proud gatekeeper.
Ashe, gather round, my people. There is a gatekeeper among us who is a healer. A healer in our village of Harlem. Healer, praise singer is calling you. Come forward.
Praise singer, I am here.
Gatekeeper, have you dedicated yourself to our community?
I have dedicated myself to our community.
Gatekeeper, some of us will know you, and some of us will not know you.
Praise singer, it is definitely a pleasure to have you among us.
I thank you, my sister.
So many of our people need to have praises sung to them.
Who are these? Tell us, who are you called to heal?
My name is Bonnie Harrison. Some of you know me because you participated in some of my workshops or retreats in the past, or know me through my counseling and therapy, coaching, practice, or my writing. I create workshops such as the 7 rules that make sure your relationships won't work and what you can do about it. Another workshop that I offer is Behind the Mask, the me that nobody knows. This workshop explores authenticity and personal integrity and how this impacts the loss, grief, and rage that we all at some point will experience.
But in the end, does any of it really work? Does any of it really stick?
Does it work? Depends on if you really want it to work.
Ah, speak the truth, gatekeeper.
I also conduct a workshop called Keeping It Alive After 55, Aging, Sexuality, and the Elephant in the Room.
Uh-oh. Keeping it alive after 55, aging, sexuality. Let's hear what that's all about.
Here we explore relationship dynamics that nobody wants to talk about, yet they affect the ways that we age and experience ourselves as sexual beings in our intimate relationships.
Say that, girl.
We explore the impact of experiences such as sexual orientation, ableism, sex roles, gender identity, variations in sex drive.
Uh-oh. Variations in sex drive? So how come everybody got so quiet all of a sudden? Who wants to admit they could use that workshop? Bonnie, girl, you better go ahead with your bad self.
I also conduct workshops where the participants write letters to their mothers or fathers, or both, whether alive or transitioned back to the ancestors. In fact, I conducted a workshop or presentation entitled Mommy Letters, a Staged Reading.
Ashe.
Praise singer. Praise singer, I've been working in the theater so long, I am quite used to introducing myself.
Yeah, this sister of the theater, she already knows to come without me calling her.
Irene Gandy, everybody. Now, if you came to certain Broadway plays, such as the 2012 revival of Porgy and Bess, for example, I was working as one of the producers on that show, won the Tony Award for Best Revival. Listen, when I talk about working on Broadway, I know what I'm talking about. I've worked as the press agent on Broadway for 50 years. That's right.
Over 50 years?
Been a press agent. Praise singer, you have gathered us here for celebration, right? Well, when it comes to Broadway, I work to send out word so as to gather our people to come to performances. I work to send word by way of the churches and the newspapers and on the radio and on the television. Word that there are performances for all of us to come and see and enjoy and learn from.
Ashe! Welcome, gatekeeper.
Praise singer, may I introduce my same gender-loving brother,
But of course,
award-winning choreographer extraordinaire, George Faison.
Praise singer. In my younger years, I would have introduced myself dancing.
in our hearts, we still see you dancing.
George danced with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, traveling the world before founding his own company, the George Faison Universal Dance Experience. This brother has choreographed on Broadway, television, films for over 50 years. He's trained dancers everywhere. And let me not forget his dedication to his Firehouse Theater located in Harlem.
Thank you for that, my sister.
Go on, give us the details. We who know you are not shy.
Won the 1975 Tony Award for Best Choreography and Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Choreography. One of my choreographed dances, Sweet Oldest, is still in the Ailey repertoire to this day. And my Firehouse Theater in Harlem, my pride and joy. I train the young people as dancers, choreographers, writers.
Ashe!
We SGLBTQ people are still fighting for our rights, still fighting to be recognized, still fighting to be included even amongst our own people.
Still fighting to be included even among our own.
Acceptance among people of color? Full acceptance? It's complicated.
So many of our folks pull out these holy verses that claim that we should be despised. Yeah, let's get real.
But many holy ones know the truth, that gatekeepers are holy, as all people are holy.
Praise singer, you're too generous. You ask me, we're still being shuffled aside. Hating us same gender-loving people just continues and continues and continues. And please spare me the list of TV shows. That's not what I call real acceptance.
Yes, it still continues, but we can celebrate ourselves and celebrate those who celebrate us. The ancestors have called me forward to be among you this day because so much healing is needed. So much healing must take place.
So much of the healing needed involves a reservoir of self-hatred that so many of us same-gender-loving sisters and brothers have inside ourselves towards ourselves.
I'll ashe to that.
Our core issue has to do with slavery and the impact it had on us intergenerationally. Listen, every species has the impact of what has happened to their ancestors in their DNA. So when we don't do the grief work and the healing work, for example, to examine the relationship we had with our mothers.
Our mothers, the relationship we had with our mothers.
400 years later, slavery has impacted your mother and father's relationship and how your relationship with your mother impacted you.
My relationship with my mother certainly has.
All of those systems that were put in place and remain today that distort our perceptions of who we really are.
The crux of the problem is this lie of white so-called supremacy.
The lie that has damaged so many of us. Each one of you has dedicated your life in defeating that lie with your work in our communities.
A lie that has perpetuated historical harm. The slavery experience and all of those systems that were put in place and remain today, distorting our perceptions of who we really are.
For me, it's through culture. Our young people. I work to inspire them. My students, the children, the people just getting started in their young adult lives.
Mhm.
For me, working in my Firehouse Theater, it's about nurturing choreographers, writers, painters, musicians.
Creativity, culture, inspiration, achievement.
Achievement. When I sat in that audience and heard my name called, the winner is George Faison for the Wiz. And the clapping and the pats on the back and T hugging me and I running on the stage and I leaped in the air. Me. 1975, the Drama Desk Award, the Tony Award. I am the first African American to win for Best Choreography. 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I work my dancers hard. I demand discipline, focus, commitment. My role models were my parents. My mom worked as a domestic. Dad had his own company. He made and installed awnings year-round for drugstores and mansions, fancy houses, climbing ladders sometimes 2, 3 stories up in the summertime, in that heat. Discipline, focus, commitment. My dad putting up awnings in wealthy suburbs, those neighborhoods where you were not allowed to go in after nightfall if you were black. I remember one time I was standing there with these white folks as they looked up at my father. "He sure is strong as an ox," one of them said.
As if your father was a beast.
Yes. I was born in Westbury, Long Island. Ours was the first family to settle there in 1935. And as to the ox, yes, I know that feeling, George. When I was 7, I was with my father driving one day out on Westbury. The cop stopped my father. My father said, "Why did you stop me?" The cop said, "I don't have to tell you that." My father said, "Your blue suit don't scare me. I got a blue suit at home in my closet too."
The first black family in that town, and your father stood up to him? Ashe.
Ashe, absolutely. Discipline, focus, commitment. I attended Howard University. Howard was black people's Harvard. That's where I first saw a production of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Company. Alvin came and performed at Crampton Auditorium. It was 65 or 66. I left Howard at 18 years old. It was scary. There was a certain stigma about being a male and dancing. I started out studying to be a dentist. I ended up leaving to dance. What was I thinking?
Thinking. You saw Alvin Ailey's celebration of our heritage and culture. That was enough.
That's right. When I saw Alvin, I felt a connection. I knew then that I could express myself. I felt a desire. It satisfied everything social and ecumenical. After that performance, my mind was made up. I had to come to New York. We're talking before gay liberation, before Stonewall. That was instigated by our beloved black and white drag queens, by the way. All praises.
Yeah.
See, this is what makes me an elder. Back in our day, you were a faggot, or you were a dyke, or a bulldogger. And then in the 70s came the word gay, or you were queer, or drag queen, or you were just plain funny.
Funny. Now, for me, I grew up in North Carolina, what was then the segregated South. There was no term for lesbian when I was growing up. You were either a female and funny or you were a male and funny, but you were funny. Neighbors or relatives called you funny.
Do you think that child's a little funny?
Funny. The way they be. I think so.
The guys were referred to as,
Now that one over there, think he got a little sugar in his tank.
Look at him. 13 years old, acting like a little girl.
He's too close to his mama. His daddy'll straighten him out.
For young boys like that, they learned how to do the butch things that they were taught to do, and still getting in Mama's closet, especially around Halloween. 'Cause there were no costumes purchased.
Well, now anybody can dress up for Halloween. Nothing wrong with Halloween.
Our parents made all our Halloween costumes, and the boys would always dress up in Mommy's shoes, then dress up in women's clothes, and put on lipstick. They just thought it was the funniest thing. Somebody's mother might have had an old wig. It's really ironic how homosexuality was part of the culture, and it had its own place. Then came the Vietnam War. My brother got a letter for him to report to the Army for induction.
Oh, I was in college at Howard right at that time. My whole class got drafted, but they were killing black people already. They were murdering people in the streets.
And still are.
If you were 15, they could take you right off the street.
That's the truth.
My mother said,
Hell no. I'll die first before they make any one of my boys fight in their damn war.
Mama, I'm not going to be seen looking like that in public.
Oh, yes, you will. You want to be sent to Vietnam?
So she made my brother put on a dress and high-heel shoes and lipstick and everything. And she went down with him. Yes, she did, took him down. And of course, they denied him immediately. And when they walked out into the street, he had on Mama's daisy print dress with a ruffled collar and my patent leather high heels.
Damn, Mama! Damn!
Don't care. At least you're not fighting for these crackers ending up a corpse.
Bonnie, your mama was something else.
Yes, she was. You might even say my mother helped me to come in to the light of my true self. But that part of my story can wait.
Bonnie, so your mother helped you.
Brother Frank Perry, I see pain in your face.
When we were coming up, my mother worked the late shift, so my father made breakfast for me and my brother every morning and took me to school. Every morning, when I went off to college, they wrote me a note every single day telling me that they loved me. Every day I would go to the mailbox and there would be a note telling me I was loved. Every day.
So, why the pain in your face, my brother?
Frank, the healing happens if you let yourself go through it, then overcome the pain.
My parents rejected me for a while when I told them I was gay.
Uh-oh, familiar story.
I was in law school. I was around 30. There was no SGLBTQ. It was against the law to be gay. Places where our people congregated were raided by the police, and our gay, lesbian, trans brothers and sisters could end up publicly disgraced, their careers ruined, job prospects over. My mother kept asking.
Frank, are you?
I kept saying no. But then one of my closest friends' partners was dying of AIDS down in Princeton, New Jersey, and I would go down regularly to help out.
Frank.
Yes, Mama.
Frank, are you?
I kept saying no. And then it was 1982, and we were in the car one day.
Frank.
Yes, Mama.
Why do you keep going down to that hospital to be with that nasty man? Frank, are you gay?
Yes. She jumped out of the car screaming and ran upstairs and told my grandmother. My grandmother said,
What in the world is the matter?
and I said to my grandmother, Mama asked me for the 100th time if I'm gay.
Thank God you finally told her. I knew it. We all knew it. We've been talking about it.
My family had always been talking about it behind my back.
See, for me, coming out, I didn't have to come out. Mother knows her child.
Well, my mother sent me a package in the mail. My baby pictures. She ripped up my baby pictures and sent them to me. But then my brother, bless him, became my umpire.
Mama, what's all this? What's going on with you, Dad, and Frank?
Son, did you know that your brother's a homosexual?
He's a gay man, Mom. Accept it. And whether you do or you don't, I'll tell you something else. Don't expect you're going to be coming over here to my house to put down Frank. If you can't accept him, then you can't be with me.
We sing praises to our kin who know that we have always been a part of you. We have always been you. You have always been us, and there has never been a separation.
My aunts and uncles and cousins were all as welcoming as ever. Even some of my mama's sorority sisters. But yes, my parents rejected me for a while.
I've danced all over the world, won so many prizes, created so many productions. But you know what? Our greatest production is always ourselves.
Aye! Sister Irene Gandy, I see pain in your face.
My daughter is gay.
Irene, let me help you. If I can, let me help you talk through it.
Frank,
Yes, Irene?
you say your parents rejected you for a while. I'm a parent. I'm a lesbian. My daughter is gay.
Congratulations.
I didn't see the signs. I didn't even know she was gay.
We're all listening. Take your time.
I didn't see the signs. I'm in the theater. I'm a lesbian. My daughter would say to me, "It's great I always have my girlfriends around. We always have stuff to talk about." She never had young men come over to the house, but so what? She went away to art school. And when some of her friends came to visit me, I'm telling them how she's doing very well in school and she's very happy. So the one friend says my daughter sent her a postcard and is calling from Europe, right? Okay. But then the second friend gets all upset. Hold up. You sent her a card and she sent you a postcard? That's my money she's dealing with. So I said, what are you two fighting about? You're both her friends. Friends? No, I'm the girlfriend. She's gay. We're gay. Gay? I immediately phoned my daughter in France. Hi, honey. How's it going? Listen, are you gay? And she immediately hung up the phone.
Behind the mask, the me that nobody knows.
So even I didn't know, and as open as I am, I'm in the theater. I'm a lesbian. And yet, at first I'm thinking, what did I do to make my daughter gay? Because as a parent, I didn't want my child to be excluded.
Excluded. That's certainly what we faced back in the day.
Praise singer, this is why I like the new generation when they say they are gender fluid, because they don't care. They like who they like. There are no labels on it.
Sister Irene, I embrace you.
This is why your praise singer has come among all of you, to make sure that each and every one of you support and embrace each other.
Ashe.
Part of my goal has been to talk about love using dance. Romantic love, mischievous love, jealous love.
Love? As I say, one of my workshops is all about behind the mask, the me that nobody knows. Another is about the relationship that we choose to have.
Sister Bonnie, give us your story.
Picture me, yours truly, down in North Carolina, living with my then husband. Waking up one night, he's not in bed beside me. So I happened to get out from under the covers and walk down the hallway. And there's my husband, standing in the doorway of our housemate's room, with a hard-on, watching her as she sleeps. It's 1961. My husband was a musician who spent a lot of time on the road. In those days, where we lived, many people took on college students as roomers in their homes. That was how we met Diane. She was a student. My husband had encouraged me to take Diane in as a roomer, so I wouldn't be alone while he was out on the road.
But then, that one night,
There's my husband, standing naked in the doorway of our housemate's room with a hard-on, watching as she sleeps.
and when you asked him what the hell was he doing,
He claimed that he thought Diane had been having a nightmare and he'd gone to see if he could help her. And he went back to bed.
so when you got up the next morning,
He's in the kitchen. I put on a pot of tea. I asked him again, what were you doing standing naked in the doorway of Diane's room while she's sleeping with a heart on?
hold up, I bet you he told you, I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And guess what I did when he said that? Boom! Bashed him in the head with a pot of tea, told him to get the hell out, and he did.
Girl, I know you did. Ashe, girl. Ashe.
Sister Bonnie, does Diane continue in your story?
Oh, she does. She definitely does. But listen, remember the time period where I'm coming from.
Sister Bonnie, we're all here to support you, just as you support others in telling their stories.
There was no term called lesbian when I was growing up. I didn't know I was a lesbian at that point. I didn't. But there was my mother. See, after my husband left, Diane and I just hung out together. Always enjoyed each other's company. It was intense. It was fascinating. Whenever I'd talk about her, my mother said my face would light up. Then one day, Mother said, "You're in love with Diane, aren't you?" I said, "In love with Diane?" I had never thought about it, you know? And when I do think about it now, it's kind of ironic. But I never thought about whether I loved her. So then I thought about it. Well, I guess I am. Mommy said, "I think you are. Do you love her?" Do I love her? I think maybe I do. And then my mother told me, "I've got 5 children, and I've never had an orgasm. Love who you love. I'm going to love you no matter what. You're my child. If you enjoy being with her, that's what you do. Don't end up like me. Whatever you do, don't end up with a house full of babies."
Aye! We give praises to the parents and families of our same gender-loving gatekeepers who praise and love and accept their gatekeeper children. Ashe.
Now, here's how yours truly came from North Carolina to live and work in New York City.
You came here with your love, Diane.
Oh, got that right. My husband, see, had given me money to go to New York to work for the summer. I used it to take me and Diane on the bus up here to the Big Apple. I was still married at that point. Still hadn't really let him in on the truth. A couple of months passed. Came to find out he had reported to the police here in New York that I was missing, underage, even though I was over 18. And anyway, had my mother's approval. And my husband told the police that I was in a prostitution ring in Harlem.
Whoa.
Do you believe that?
And then,
Cops tracked me down at the Burdock Hotel. They informed me that they had been told that I was living here as a missing underage prostitute.
girl, what happened?
That's how he was able to track me down. Get this. My husband then came to New York to collect me. He demanded that I go back to North Carolina with him. And when I refused to go, he stabbed me in the stomach.
Oh my God.
Damn.
That's awful.
We praise and honor all same gender-loving gatekeepers who endure, overcome, or sadly fall prey to violence.
Not only did I recover, I won the right to live my own life.
Ashe, endure and overcome. Yes, endure and overcome.
So when Diane and I came to New York, we were open as to who we were, women in love with each other. We were together for 9 years.
I am so grateful that I am attracted to lovers who have purpose in their lives, not just in it for themselves.
That was Diane. Now my struggle has been in being a professional woman who is open about being a lesbian.
See, you were working in more traditional, what we call in the arts, civilian spaces. Since I worked all my life in theater, I didn't have to contend with homophobia. Oh, but to encounter my fellow lesbian sisters out in the wider world, back when we was, younger,
Those were the times when the phobia crossed your path.
I went out with this DA from Houston who was so closeted. We went to a dyke bar, Ruby Fruit, and ran into friends of mine, and I introduced her as an attorney friend. She was so closeted. In the cab on the way home, she asked why I had introduced her like that. She kept saying, I'm a DA, I'm a DA. That's my reputation. I told her, nobody cares about your reputation. If this cab got in an accident right now, the papers would report Broadway publicist is injured with an unidentified friend. Behind the mask, Bonnie?
Oh, for me, being a lesbian and dealing with different city agencies back in the day was something else. See, I didn't get any resistance from my family, was never closeted, to my knowledge. Was open with my partners, around friends and family and co-workers.
Well, how was your workplace a struggle for you, my sister?
Took a job with the Department of Social Services, secretary to the director. We're all in a meeting about a case trying to help people with mental and emotional problems. And what was being proposed didn't make sense to me. So I offered my perspective and was told, you don't have the training to have an opinion. That was the last time somebody was going to tell me that my ideas weren't valid because I didn't have the training. Went to college, got a scholarship from the Urban League, studying behavioral psychology. I do remember working for the city, having events I'd have to go to.
Social events where you had to appear in public?
Social events that your career depended on, right, Bonnie? There was no gay rights in the workplace. We had to disguise at events or lose our job.
That's it. My friend Richard, he and I would go as boyfriend and girlfriend. Whenever he'd need a female, I'd be his date or somebody else. So we did that.
Yeah, still goes on today. I mean, I know some gay guys who go to events with straight women who don't have men. People watch and wonder if they're really straight or not. It's funny when people watch and think that they're screwing. It works for them that way.
Well, I could have gone much further than I did if I would have been willing to sleep with men or go to church or become a member of somebody's congregation, and I refused to do either one. I wouldn't sleep with the politicians, and I didn't sleep with the ministers. And I didn't belong to anybody's congressional clubs. I didn't belong to any sororities. My consciousness didn't let me go there. I was a lone wolf.
Oh, I know that feeling. I'm talking about business meetings to get funding for productions, dealing with private, wealthy individuals, corporations.
Tell me about it. Oh, yes, dealing with corporations.
Racism. You know it's there, but you can't let it stop you. I educate them. If you experience something, say something. I say what I feel and I say what I mean. I'm not afraid of losing my job because I'm an asset.
I was fighting the system, but you know all about that, Irene.
Oh, yes, I've been in the rooms. I walked into a meeting. They love to have meetings. This man says to me, "You look so nice today." I said, "How do you know how nice? You've never seen me before. You don't have anything to compare how I look today with. So don't say that," because he wouldn't have said that to a white woman.
Now, I'm in my career working for the city, and a colleague of mine and I researched the AIDS cases and discovered that Harlem had the highest stats for HIV and the lowest amount for funding.
Surprise, surprise.
I'm telling the truth. My colleague and I came up with all these stats, and we submitted our paper for review for the first AIDS conference in the world. It took place in Sweden, and it was accepted. And here's what I'm so proud of. I got known for my HIV work with black gay men, and then black women started coming who were positive. I'd get phone calls at night and all throughout the day from St. Thomas and Trinidad. These mothers were calling me, screaming and crying. Their sons were here. Their sons were sick. And they couldn't let them come back home because they didn't want anybody to know they were dying with AIDS. And they couldn't get the funeral homes to embalm their bodies. I saw all my clients in my home. I can't tell you how many couches and chairs I had to replace. You know, the diarrhea was so horrific back in those days because people would just bleed.
Bonnie, I worked with the gay men's health crisis. I remember how awful it was.
Those of us who lived through it will never forget it. How can we?
Bonnie, you never gave up.
Was hired as the first head of the neighborhood-based alliance. I wrote a grant and got $1.8 million. Got 80 organizations to join our coalition. And that's when the politicians came for my ass. Because, again, remember, I wasn't screwing anybody, and I wasn't a member of anybody's church, and I had gotten all this damn money. I wouldn't let them stack my board of directors with friends of the politicians. I refused to give grants to the friends of the politicians. I was home with a bronchitis, and one of my workers called me and told me I had gotten a telegram from Western Union. I said, "Read it." They terminated me for insubordination. I wanted to know what was the insubordination. They said, "We don't have to tell you." So that was the kind of problem I had, having the nerve to be a lesbian and working with the community and being left-wing at that. So that's where my adversity came in, being a lesbian or a same-gender loving woman. It hurt me politically. It hurt me in terms of my career.
Endure and overcome. Yes, endure and overcome.
Endure and overcome, yes. Endure and overcome.
Frank, something else you'd like to share?
Back in the 80s, my parents rejecting me, it was like they erased me from their lives. So it made me want to achieve more, to be the best trial lawyer that I could be. So I kept on achieving more and doing more things in our community. I lived on the east side then and was even named one of the mayors in Our Town magazine and got the award and was presented at the Waldorf Astoria. Here I was, one of the only black faces up in there, and my parents couldn't even come to that. My parents' rejection made me want to achieve more. Then I fell in love with Paul Richard Munch. We started a little life together, but he was I knew after our first date, I knew that he was HIV positive because I had been doing work with GMHC. And he thought that I should tell my parents that I had fallen in love. One day, Paul came home and he said, I have a therapist I want you to see. I've made an appointment for you to go to her on Tuesday after work. You're going. I've been in therapy ever since. She's a wonderful, wonderful African-American woman, Emma. Emma introduced me to a word I had never heard before, and that word is individuated. I had never individuated from my parents.
Meaning what?
Meaning I was still tethered to them by this invisible umbilical cord, meaning that my obsession with wanting their approval was ruining my life, running my life.
Emma provided you with a crucial personal insight, Frank.
It was painful to really begin to sever this umbilical cord. I did it because I loved Paul. I was with Paul for 4 years before he died of AIDS. I took care of him. He died in my arms. I told Paul that he could let go. You know, I never shared any of that with my mother and father.
He took care of Paul, Frank. We praise our sisters and brothers, same gender-loving, two-spirited, and our allies who suffered and died from the AIDS genocide, and those who continue to struggle with their health issues. Ashe.
Gatekeepers, I found healing and comfort and solace when I decided to start my own family on my own terms. I came to Harlem 17 years ago with my partner, Jeffery. We wanted to have children. We adopted. Thelma Ruby Lee was born across the street in Harlem Hospital. We got her at 2 weeks old.
I praise those who come into this world, all children, everywhere. Ashe.
I didn't want to have any more children after Ruby, but this woman came to me. She said, this boy was just born and he's so beautiful and you have to take him. You have to, she told me. It was winter '05. There was a transit strike. And 2 women came to our house wearing Santa hats and just handed Jack to us.
Just like that.
Just like that. Ruby Lee is now 18 and Jack is 16.
I'm grateful to my child who loves me.
The young people who I teach, they're my legacy. The young people who I work with express their feelings in movement. They give it their all. I want to give them the inspiration that was given to me.
Our young people are our legacy, my gatekeepers. Let us commit to nurturing, sustaining, and teaching them. Frank, there's still sorrow. Speak the truth in your heart. If sorrow, then let it be sorrow.
This was around the time Trayvon Martin was killed. Jeff and I were down in Princeton, New Jersey on the beach. That's when I decided to have the talk with our son, Jack. I told my son, if you're ever stopped, just say yes, sir. And don't just say, I'd like to call my father. You don't have to tell them who your father is or what your father does, judge in New York, whatever. Just say, yes, sir, I'd like to call my father. Granted, this was 10 years ago, before all the cell phone footage that we all know too well, but still, Jeff couldn't understand why I needed to tell our son that. He's white, and he couldn't understand what it means to be Black in America.
In my experience, the information in the DNA of a white person would be about them coming from a position of overlord or plantation owner. What would come up in the memories of the DNA of a Black person would be memories of being enslaved through the experiences of our ancestors. So there's no way these two can coexist healthily today, any more than they could coexist healthily during slavery.
Oh, excuse me, but there are exceptions. Maybe not many, but there are. I lucked out. I found one of those exceptions. A remarkable man. T and I moved to Harlem. He was supportive in every way. Tad Snug. All he wanted to do was protect me from what I already knew. Racism. Me, this black boy, goes and takes the son of the Third Reich. I mean, how a white man, a German whose father was a Nazi. I didn't see color. Christmas 1968, I took T home.
Gatekeepers, we praise finding love wherever and with whomever one can find it. Ashe. Ashe. Or do you want loneliness for your sisters and brothers? We praise finding love wherever and with whomever we can find it. Ashe.
Ashe. I know that's right. It's all about communication. Now I'm learning about trans. I'm seeing a man. 30 years old, by the way.
Oh, you go, Irene.
I'm struggling to keep up. He's transitioning from a woman, and I'm watching how he's becoming more and more comfortable in his own skin. And the more he becomes comfortable in his skin, I'm becoming more comfortable in my own skin.
I've been comfortable in my own skin for a long time, honey. I had to be. For instance, when T and I moved to Harlem, the city agencies didn't take me seriously. So people in our community would say, T, you go speak to city agencies. T, the white guy, my man, would go represent our part of the empowerment zone. He'd go and they'd say, we only have a few dollars left in the budget. If I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, it could have taken me to a psychotic place. We all fought on. There was no empathy or compassion for us. It was with T's help that I came to purchase my Firehouse Theater in Harlem. My pride and my joy.
Overcome your obstacles. That's my motto. Like if I need $5,000, I don't start with how am I going to get $5,000. I start with how am I going to get the first 50. There's always going to be obstacles, but I don't think in terms of struggle. That's not how I live my life. It has a lot to do with when you're in the theater, the show must go on. For the last 50 years, that's what has worked for me. Until this pandemic, I have worked nonstop for the last 50 years.
Praising our persistence, praising our resistance, praising our determination, praising our collective power.
All of us still fighting for Black Lives to Matter. Still fighting for SGLBTQ rights. Still fighting for the rights of our children and the rights to raise our children. Our children, yes. My parents never met my first love. They never met Paul. And 4 years later, after Paul died, I met Bruce. We were together for about 7 or 8 years. They met Bruce once. No, twice. It was at my grandmother's wake. We walked in. My mother's there, and she says, "What is he doing here?" Then, years later, I'm with Jeff and our children, Ruby and Jack. One of my parents' goddaughters told them, "You really ought to call Frank." Our children. Mom and Dad invited me and Jeff and the children for Sunday dinner. It was about 14 years ago. Let me just say this. What they say about parents becoming grandparents, I saw it happen right in front of my own eyes. The feeling, the joy. My parents were just over the moon with my children. They were just so happy. I mean, I have never seen them like that.
Endure and overcome.
Now, my parents were very formal people, so we're all at dinner. And at one point, the children decide to play underneath the dinner table. And I'm getting very nervous. I was thinking, oh my God, my parents are going to scold them. So I looked under the dinner table and I said, please come back up and take your seats. And my mother said, what are you doing? They're children. Let them play if they want to play. And I looked over her and I said, who are you? And what have you done with my mother? So having these children really was a turning point in our relations.
Profound healing took place between you all.
And get this, everybody, because my son Jack looks especially like me, my parents were just thrilled as all get out. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful to see them develop a relationship with my children for the short time that they were still around. And we became closer. You know, I realized that for my parents, part of their sense of betrayal about me being gay, all along they were yearning for grandkids. My mother said that she wanted to be able to push a carriage down Fifth Avenue and take her granddaughter or her grandson shopping for things. And it was as easy as having these babies. They were just... I ceased to be Frank, you know. I was Jackson's dad. Oh, you know him. That's Jack's father.
Because you did the grief work and the healing work and examined the relationship you had with your mother, you were able to separate yourself from your mother and father and become your own authentic person.
Our relationship came full circle. My mother passed April 24th, 2020 from COVID.
Your mother is now with the ancestors, Frank. God bless her soul.
The energy in this world is very frenetic right now. I attempt to create a safe space for my children and for myself, free as much as it can be from all the craziness in this world, and quiet and calm and spiritual, so we can exist in a space in peace.
Ashe.
And a few months later, I buried my father. You think you know everything there is to know about a mother and a father, and then at the homegoing, several people stood up and thanked my father and my mother for paying their college tuition. I never knew that. I never knew that. To realize that all this time I had been carrying on my parents' tradition of public service.
Frank, may I be your press agent for the moment?
Irene.
Frank started an Adopt a School program in the 80s, and he helped establish the Borough Academy's Last Chance School for kids.
We had 5 schools on the Upper East Side. One day on the 6 train, this big, hulking black guy came up to me and said, I know you. You used to come to my school and talk to me every day. I'm at John Jay now. But, you know, what I'm most proud of is receiving the Gay City 2019 Impact Award.
Hold up a minute, everybody. Frank, you really do need a press agent. You really are too modest. How about the time when you were the chairman of Community Board 10 right here in Harlem 10 years ago? Tell him, Frank.
It is so ordered that the buildings in Harlem from 116th Street to 125th Street and from 125th to 145th Streets, that no buildings can build anything higher than the Hotel Teresa, 14 stories. Hotel Teresa being the tallest structure in that Harlem neighborhood. I'm sick of developers developing and people can't afford to live in their communities, pushing people out.
Even last February, when environmentalists caught these building developers trying to sneak and build a 52-story tower in a neighborhood of 5 and 6-story brownstones here in Manhattan.
It is so ordered that the Department of Buildings will revoke the building permit for developers violating their zoning limits.
They tried to sneak and build the 52-story tower anyway, and brother Judge Frank Perry ruled that they tear down 20 of those stories, honey, and obey the original ordinance. How about that?
Inspire us, gatekeeper. This gatekeeper is doing what he was born to do, laying down the law. And just think of it, George. The hundreds of dancers that you've guided, inspired, and given the gift of self-discovery to. And Bonnie, the gift of self-awareness that you provided to so many individuals and families. And you, Irene, the actors and directors and designers whose work you have helped present to all of us. Hear me, my people. Same gender-loving people and allies. Did not become discouraged and divided. Did not lose confidence in yourselves and each other. Our greatest production is always ourselves. Now, as we close our ceremony, gatekeepers, we bless, praise, and thank our ancestor gatekeepers. You, all of you, are praise singers. What say you?
I am a praise singer. I praise gatekeeper women born to love women, and I praise gatekeeper men born to love men.
I am a praise singer. I praise gatekeeper men born to love men and women. I praise all love.
I am a praise singer. I praise gatekeepers born fluid in their gender identities.
I am a praise singer. I praise gatekeepers who dare to love beyond their racial or their ethnic boundaries.
We are all praise singers. You are a praise singer, and you are a praise singer. And I praise you.